Okay, hello everyone. Okay, so the next program in chapter 5 is rectangle area. Okay, it says complete the program. All right, so if you have downloaded the book source code from this website, you will find a partially written program named arearectangle.java. In this chapter source code folder, your job is to complete the program. When it is complete, the program will ask the user to enter the width and length of a rectangle and then display the rectangle's area. The program calls the following methods, which have not been written. So these are the methods. The getLength method is going to, so this method should ask the user to enter the rectangle's length and then return the value as a double. getWidth, okay, this method should ask the user to enter the rectangle's width and then return the value as a double. Now getArea, this method should accept the rectangle's length and width as arguments and return the rectangle's area. Now the area is calculated by multiplying the length by the width. DisplayData is also going to be another method, and this method should accept the rectangle's length, width, and area as argument and display them in an appropriate message on the screen. So I purchased this book on Amazon, so I'm using the Kindle app over here. So this is a question actually. But when I purchased purchased it from Amazon, actually I didn't have for some reason I didn't have a link to the source code folder or whatever they're saying. Maybe I have it, but I just haven't looked for it. I haven't even I don't even know where it is. But maybe I have, but I haven't. Like I said, I haven't gone to the website to see this code. But when I look at this question, we don't need it. We don't need to go and look for it. Actually, it's funny because for the Python book, I have the source code. So I was able to download the source code for it today, and I thought it was a Java for some reason. But and I realized it was a Python. But I still have the Python just in case we have questions like that. I can refer to it, to the I can refer to the sample source code. The ones we have to complete in there. But for the Java, I couldn't. Like I said, I haven't even seen it myself. But when you look at this question, we don't need it. We can actually create some of the stuff ourselves. Either way, when you look at the question, it says that the program is not even complete. I think it just has headers for us to just fill in. It just has empty methods for us to just fill in. So we don't necessarily need it. So I'm going to go back to the program. All right, so let's read it and then do it. We can do this. All right, so we're going to basically create a method that's going to calculate the area of a rectangle. We're going to create a method that's going to get the length. Another one that's going to get the width. Another method that's going to calculate the area based on the length and width given to or passed into the getArea method as argument. DisplayData is also just going to display data to us. We're going to give it 3 arguments, which is the length, width, and the area, and then it's going to display a message to us or to the screen or on the screen. Sorry about the cough. Okay, so let's start, and then as the more we're doing it, it will make sense. So I'll go ahead and I'll create the class, and I'll call it rectangle area. I just say rectangle area, and then I'll create the main method. Type strong. Okay. All right. So over here, if you read the question, it says over here, that, like, for example, when you take a look at this, let's see. When you take a look at this method, getLength, it says the method should ask the user to enter the rectangle's length. So that that indicates that, or that signals that we need a feature to accept user input. So we have a couple of options. We have either the scanner class or the GOptionPane class. Now for this question, I'm going to use the GOptionPane class just because it looks nice sometimes. But you can also use the scanner. I'm just choosing to use the GOptionPane. And like I said, as always, I'll be switching between the scanner and the GOptionPane. But for this one, I'm just choosing to use the GOptionPane. So to use the GOptionPane, we need to import it so that this program can have access to the GOptionPane. So to import the GOption pane, you type import javax.swing.jOption pane, like this. So once we type this statement, now this program has access to the GOption pane class, so we can go ahead and use it. Now with the GOption pane class, we don't have to create an object for it. We just go ahead and use it. See, unlike the scanner class, we have to go ahead and create an object. But with the GOption pane, we don't have to go ahead and create an object. We can just go ahead and use the GOption pane. Okay, so let's see. Your job is to complete the program. When it says complete, the program will ask the user to enter the width and length of the rectangle, and then display the rectangle's area. Program calls the following methods which have not been written. Okay, so the program calls the following methods which have not been written. So getLength. So getLength, this method should ask the user to enter the rectangle's length and then return that value as a double. So let's go ahead and define getLength. All right. So now, when others, other programmers, anytime they are creating their methods, they create it under the main method. They start over here by creating a main method. In the previous two programs that I did, I actually created the methods above it, just because sometimes I like doing that because it looks logical to me. I don't know. I switch it sometimes. Sometimes I write it below. Sometimes I write it above. But like I said, sometimes it just makes sense to write it above. But either way, if you write it on top or you write it below, it's still going to work. Okay, because as soon as you write the method, it's available to the program. Okay, you don't have to worry about. See, unlike a regular variable where you can't use it before defining it. With a method, it doesn't matter where you can define it above here. I mean, no, not you have to define. You can define it above the main method or below the main method, and call it in main, and it'll still work. So I'll be switching in between. I'll be switching between writing the methods above the main or below the main. For this one, I'm just going to write it above the main. Okay. Sometimes I just feel like sometimes I'm tempted to write it below. It's it's fine, nothing happens. But again, I just have this feeling, let me just do it above. It just depends. It just depends. But all you should know is that both of them work. So wherever you write it, it's going to be available to the program. So let's go ahead and define getLength. Right. So I'm going to create a public method. Sorry, it's okay. So I'm going to start with the word keyword public. Public because this method is going to be accessible to code outside this class. I'm going to create it's going to be a public static. All right, static because this method belongs to this class. Okay, so public static. Now we know that it's going to return a value. It's going to return a value as a double. So we know the return type for this method is a double. So public static double, that's a return type. And the name of the method is getLength. So getLength. So I've created the structure of the method. Okay, so it says the method should ask the user to enter the rectangle's length and then return that value as a double. Now we're not passing in any arguments, but we know that it's returning. We know that it's returning a double. So the method is going to ask the user to enter the rectangle's length. So let's go ahead and use the GOption pane to do that. So GOption pane dot show inputs dialog. And then we're going to just tell the user, the show input dialog is just going to ask the user to enter the length, okay, the length of the rectangle. So I'm going to say enter, or just please enter the length of the rectangle. Here, like this. All right. Now, anything that's returned from the GOption pane, anything that the user types over here is going to be returned as a string. Even if the user types in a number here for the length of the rectangle, it's going to be returned as a string. But the thing is, we can't use strings in calculations. So we have to convert whatever is being returned by this show input dialog method to a number. In this case, we want it as a double, right? Because we know we are returning a double. So we can go ahead and store. We can go ahead and create a variable, let's say, and call it. It's going to be a string, right? In the previous programs, we were declaring a variable like this, like say user input string, and we were storing whatever the user types in user input string, because always the JOption pane's show input dialog method returns a string. So we first declare the variable user input string, and then we store it in user input string like this. Before converting it into a double by using one of Java's wrapper classes, right? So that double is going to be double dot pass double, and what we are passing into a double in this case is the content in user input string. Now once we pass the content in user input string to a double, we need a place to store it. So what we were doing in the past was basically this format, and then we would like declare a variable here and say length, right? I'm just saying. The reason why I'm doing this is I'm going to erase this in a second. I just want to show you something. So double, we had, let's say, double length here, and then we'll store length in this variable. We'll store the content of user input string converted to a double and store it in length, and then we would return it. Return length like this. But the thing is, now this would work, but now we did all these things in 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you really think about it, it's fine. It's fine. We are breaking it down stuff, and we've been doing that all the way from chapter 1 to chapter 5. Okay, but from now going, we're going to. I mean, I'm still going to mix it up, but for the most part, let's see. For the most part, I don't think I'm going to it depends. I think either I'm going to move forward by putting stuff together, or maybe once in a while I'll break things apart. But I want to move to the direction where we put things together. So we can do all the stuff in a few lines, even one line. We can put them together. So that's what I mean. In the first program, I separated stuff, and in the second program, I separated stuff as well. But in this one, from this one going, I want to try to put things together so that it still makes sense, though, but it helps us actually write compact code and keep things together. So I think, okay, so it's not like I think. From now on, let's do that. Let's. Initially, I was thinking about slowly doing it just so that it doesn't confuse anyone. But I think we'll be fine with it because it still makes sense, and it helps us also put things together. So, and once you've done that, if you still feel like writing it separately, go ahead and do that. But putting it together helps make our code efficient, makes our code run faster, and makes our code smaller, and it has benefits to it. So now this is what we did. We declared. So let me go ahead and take this down, and I'm going to go ahead and comment this out. So I was trying to explain just something small here, and I was talking like that. I was talking a lot like that. All I was trying to say is let's just try to put stuff together. Initially, I was trying to do it slowly, or to put things together slowly, but we can do it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's decide and go ahead and put things together. For example, if we had variables of the same type declared on several lines, like let's say string name 2, string name 3, we can declare all those strings on the same line. We don't have to declare it on 3 lines. Now we haven't really done anything because in the past we've just been working on programs that declare variables on separate lines and do things separately. But now we're going to put it together. So let's decide to do that. Okay, so that's all I'm trying to say. And I've been talking like that. All right, so now we're going to do this stuff in one line, possibly one line. possibly one line. So first of all, we declare user input string to store what is being returned from the option pane, right? So first of all, let's ask the user over here. Let's ask the user to, I'm going to paste this here. Let's ask the user to please enter the length of the rectangle. Now it's going to return whatever the user types as a string, but we need to convert it into a double like we did here. So I'm not going to confuse you over here. We are going to convert everything that is everything that's being returned by this show input dialog method into a double directly. So we are going to call one of Java's wrapper classes, in this case double.parse double. And what we are trying to pass into a double is whatever the user has typed, okay, which is being returned as a string. We are converting all that into a double, okay. And once we convert all that into a double, that is going to be the length of the rectangle, okay. It's going to be the length of the rectangle. We don't have to go ahead and store length, because over here we're storing length and then going one step further to return length. I mean, we're storing length in this length variable. First of all, we declare the length variable. We're storing the length. Okay. Over here we're storing what has been converted to a double, which is the length. We declared a variable for that, and then we went one step further to return length. Since the user's input has been converted to a double, we can just go out. We know that's the length. We don't have to put it in a variable before declaring, although it will work. Okay, but now since we know that double.parse double is going to convert whatever the user has typed into a double and return that double, we can just go ahead and return it. So we are returning the user's input, which was a string initially, converted to a double. So we did everything here. We did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines in one line, and that's what I was trying to say. So let's try to do that, and it will squeeze our programs and make it look sorry about that. Make it look more compact. If you have any questions, please comment below, and I'll do everything to respond to them. So now this is basically going to get the job done. Okay. All right. So now we're done with getLength. So let's move to getWidth. getWidth. This method should ask the user to enter the rectangle's width and then return that value as a double. So it's basically the same as this method. So let's just copy it and then paste it. All right. So all we have to do is just change the name from getLength to getWidth. And it's going to ask the user to please enter the width of the rectangle. Okay, so it's going to return whatever the user has typed, okay, converted to a double. That's what it's doing. And in this case, it's going to return that width, all right? All right, so the next method in this case is getArea, right? So this method should accept the rectangle's length and width as argument, and then return the rectangle's area. So let's go ahead and define that. So again, it's going to be a public static. It's going to return the rectangle's area. The rectangle's area is going to be a double. Now you can go ahead and restrict the length and the width as integers and return the area as an integer. But I'm sticking with doubles because sometimes you can have a length of 27 point something in inches, or you can have a decimal. That's why I'm declaring mine as a double. So for getArea, I'm going to create a public static. It's going to return a double, so I'm going to return a double over here. Public static double. I'll call the name of the method here, getArea. And getArea over here is going to take in a couple of arguments. So getArea should accept the rectangle's length and width as argument. So it's going to accept a length argument, right? So I need to create a length parameter to hold that argument that's going to be passed into this method. So the length that's going to be passed into this method is going to be a double. So I'm going to create a double parameter called length given. I'm going to call it length given because that's going to be the length that's given or passed into this getArea method. and it's also going to receive the width as an argument. So it's going to be a double as well. So double width given. So width given is going to be another argument passed into this method. Now in the method itself, we are going to use this method and then return the rectangle's area. It's going to calculate the rectangle's area and then return it. And over here it says the area is calculated by multiplying the length by the width, right? So now we can go ahead and declare a variable called area and then calculate the area and then return that variable area. But we can also go ahead, go straight forward. So this is why this is what something I feel I'm uncomfortable with. I feel like I am I don't want to confuse anyone when I do this. But we can do this, okay? At least for this program, and then I'll see. I'll think about the future programs. But this doesn't hit at all. Actually, it doesn't hit at all. It makes the program tighter. We can go ahead and declare a variable, let's say like this, double area, and then calculate the areas. We can say area is going to be equal to the length given. Okay, the length given times the width given. Now the length given and the width given are going to be the arguments that are passed into the getArea method when it's called. So whatever is passed into this getArea method is going to, for length, is going to replace length given over here, and whatever is passed into the getArea method as the width given is going to replace the width given variable over here. And then we can go ahead and return area like this. But again, we can do all this stuff in one line, right? We don't have to declare a variable. We can just return. We know length times. We know the length given times the width given gives us the area. So we can just go ahead and return the length given times the width given. If you want, you can actually put parentheses around it, but it should still work. So we are returning the length given times the width given. Actually, it should still work like this. You know what? I'll just put parentheses around it just to be safe. All right, but it should still work. So we are returning the length given times the width given, and that's going to be the area basically. All right. So I hope I didn't confuse anyone with trying to squeeze things together like this. But yeah, it should be fine, at least for this program. And then, like I said, I'll think about it and see, maybe balance it out. I just don't want to confuse anyone, especially with this here. But it should be straightforward, and it should make sense. If it doesn't, please comment down below and I'll do everything to respond to them. All right, so we should create another method called displayData, right? This method should accept the rectangle's length, width, and area as argument and display them in an appropriate message on the screen. So let's go ahead and define the last method. It's going to be a public static, because it's let's see, the method should accept the rectangle's length, width, and area as argument and display them in an appropriate message. It's not going to return anything, so it's going to return nothing. It's going to return void. Okay, it's going to return void, and the name of the method is going to be displayArea. And displayArea is going to accept a couple of arguments. It's going to accept the rectangle's length, okay? So I'm going to create a placeholder for it, which is going to be, I'm going to name this also length given. It doesn't matter because now this is the length, this is the variable, okay? It's a variable, this variable is local to the displayArea method. Okay, the displayArea does not see this length given, and this getArea method does not see this length given. These variables can only be seen. It only works in getArea, and this length given also only works in the displayArea. It doesn't matter if the names are the same. All right, so it's going to accept the length given, the width. So I'm going to create a parameter called width given, and it's going to also accept the area as an argument. So I'm going to create a double area given or area calculated. I'm going to call area calculated. All right. We can even say area. Yeah, area calculated is fine. And display them in an appropriate message on the screen. I'll just change it to area given. So it says then just display them in an appropriate message on the screen. So I'm going to basically call the option pane dot show message dialog, and it's going to display the message. So first of all, I'm going to it takes in a couple of arguments. I'm typing in null, and null is going to center the window on the screen. And then what I want to display is just a string saying the rectangle or a rectangle with length. I have the length variable stored in this case it will be stored in the length given parameter. So length given here. So rectangle with length, this length, okay. I don't know the units, so I'm just going to just display like this. So rectangle with length this, and width. I have the width here, so you can use it. Width given. I'm going to break it to the next line. So rectangle with length given, with length given, and width given, has an area of. Now I'm just going to concatenate it with the value that's going to be stored in area given. And so that's all this method is going to do. You're going to give it the length, give it the width, and give it the area, and it's going to display the message. So we've created 4 methods over here. Now we still have our main method over here. So all we have to do now is just call the method, right? We don't have to write any extra code. I mean, we're going to declare some variables, but we're not going to write too much code because we already have the methods which are going to do the job for us. So let's see. So now let's go ahead and get the length from the user. I'm going to declare a variable and now store that length in there. So I'm going to create a double variable and I'm going to call it user length. That's going to be the length that the user is going to provide. So double user length, and I'm going to initialize it right away. Okay, in the past we were declaring variable right first before going down here and saying user length is equal to something. But you can, as soon as you declare a variable, you can go ahead and initialize it. So let's do that. Okay, so this is part of trying to squeeze things together and trying to write programs this way, because it's going to help us. It's going to help us actually grow or learn more, or be even I don't know. We're going to learn more about programming, so we should do that. We should do this. Okay, we should try to put them together if we can. And like I said, if you try to separate them, also it will work. So now we're going to declare the variable and initialize it right away. So double user length now is going to be equal to, I'm going to call the method getLength. It's not going to accept any parameter, so I'm just calling the getLength method. It's going to ask the user to enter the length and then store it in user length. I'm going to do the same thing for the width. So I'm going to create a variable called user width, and I'm going to call the getWidth method. So getWidth is going to also ask the user to enter the width. It's going to return that input converted to a double, and then store it in user width. So by the time this program runs, just by writing these 2 statements, we will have the length stored in user length and the width stored in user width. And then we have to calculate the area, right? But the thing is, we know that when we call the getArea method and we pass in the user length and the user width, we are going to get the area. So we don't actually need to create another extra variable to store it, although we can. Well, let's not, right? Let's not, because we know that it's returning this, so we can go ahead and use it, right? So we can go ahead and just call that. We can go ahead and just call the method, and it's going to return that variable. So again, like I said, you can go ahead and create a double variable like this, area, and then call getArea, and then pass in user length, and then user width, and then it's going to return the area, and then store it in the variable area before we display the variable area. But we can just call the method like this in the print statement, and it's going to return the area, so we don't really have to. So now we can go ahead and call display area here like this, and display area is going to accept 3 arguments. It's going to accept the length, which we have stored in user length. So let's see. Yeah, we have stored in user length here. And then it's going to also accept the width, which we have stored in user width. And it's going to accept the area. Now we know to find the area, we can go ahead and call the getArea method. The getArea method takes in 2 arguments. It takes in the user length, which we have stored in user length here, and it also takes in the user width. I mean, it takes in a width given. In this case, the width that's going to be given to the method is going to be user width. I'm going to give the method user width. So now, just by creating these 3 lines in main, we've completed a program. These are just methods that are defined. We are using the methods here. We're just calling them. We've basically written 3 lines of code, and the program is done. Over here, we're calling display area, which is basically displaying. It's going to display a rectangle with length given, and the length given in this case I gave it user length, and width given I gave it user width for width given, and then the area given I called the area method, which took in the user length and the user width as argument. And I know this getArea method over here is going to return the length that I gave it times the width that I gave it. And over here, I'm passing it to display area. Display area is going to take the area given and then show it in the GOption pane show message dialog. So let's compile this. I'm going to create a new folder for rectangle area. Then I'll save this here. Okay, so we didn't have any errors, so that's fine. That's good. Let's run this. So now it says, please enter the length of the rectangle. I'm going to enter 6. Please enter the width of the rectangle. I'm going to enter 6. And now it says a rectangle with length 6.0 and width 6.0 has an area of 36.0. Now I didn't add the units. You can go ahead and add the units yourself. You can, I don't know, I didn't put the units, but you can go ahead and put units to it, and it's still going to be fine. But I didn't add units, but the calculation still works. You can convert this to integers if you want to restrict the user type in just integers. I made it a double because you can have a length of, let's say, 6.6 inches. That's why I kept it as a double. But this program works. So with a few lines of code, we're able to get the program done. Methods also help us try to modularize our code, okay, and try to divide them into several parts, and then call those several parts together to form a full program. So these are the methods over here. This is the main method, which is calling all the methods basically, and we've put things together instead of doing. We could have done it, some of them in 5 lines or 6 lines, but we put all of them together over here, for example. It still works, but the only difference is we've tightened up the code, and it's a bit more efficient, and we're probably going to run a bit more faster, and it has like a bunch of benefits to it. So moving forward, we're going to write code like that because we're learning, and we're going to learn actually more efficient ways to write code. Although trying to separate things also works, but writing code this way also is like a good practice. Okay, so we're done. Thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, please comment down below, and I'll do everything to respond to them. Again, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Have a great day. Have a great night. Have a nice time. Have a good sleep. And I'll see you next time with the next program. Take care. Bye-bye.